everyone. So I already spoke about this incoming lunar eclipse happening this week in my weekly forecast, but it is such a big deal that I decided to make this follow-up video with another layer to this eclipse, and also a little bonus reading for your rising sign that you can listen to after this intro. But I highly recommend for you, because my bonus reading is so short, that you also do listen to my intro here, because it will give you some clues on what to look for in your birth chart and how you can manage this energy on a more personalized level. Because although we can be quite profound, we can be deep in general forecast as astrologers, we are not sitting with your personal natal chart. So that will always be a consideration that you can take yourself if you're into astrology and you just want to, have some extra insights. So this incoming lunar eclipse is gonna happen in the sign of Pisces, and depending on your time zone, the chart that I will put up here is Paris time, so obviously remember to put in your own local time zone as well. So depending on where you are in the world, it will be happening either on the 27th or 28th. But the effects of an eclipse is always unfolding half a year after, and this will be the last one that is unfolding on the axis of Pisces and Virgo in the Pisces sign, and then we have a Virgo last one on the 20th of February 2027. This is kind of a very interesting last round for Pisces already, because we see first and foremost the degree is 5 degrees. So I want you to look at your natal chart and see if you have any planets, particularly personal planets, anything in Pisces, anything in Gemini, anything in Virgo at around 5 degrees, because you will be highly influenced by this. If you do not have any placements around 5 degrees, you will still be affected by this. But this is just a top add-on for you. On top of it, we can call this eclipse a hybrid eclipse. This is happening because the axis in which it's happening on has already shifted. So this Virgo Pisces, the north and south node, has already changed into Aquarius Leo. So although the eclipses are happening still along those old cycle, the sense of the future energy that we are bringing in form of the north and south node is present already. So what does that mean? That means that a lot of the energies that we will be feeling around this eclipse and are already feeling is highly emotional. The reason why it's so emotional is that first and foremost it's a moon lunar eclipse. The moon is our emotional body, is our feelings, is our subconscious mind, is the feminine sides of ourselves, our ability to nurture ourselves. It also represents our roots, our maternal line. So there are things when it's in the sign of Pisces. Well, Pisces is naturally at home at the 12th house. The 12th house rules everything unconscious. It rules exile, hospitals, mental health as well, karma, subconscious patterns in our dream world, past lives, if you believe in such. So you can connect the dots now, and we can look at how, since the first eclipse was there, which were in September 2024, we can look back a little bit and think, okay, what has been unfolding in my life since 2024 September? Because on an emotional level, on a spiritual level, that is coming to an end. And it is highly emotional because we get the sensation that we know that we have learned the lesson. We have learned the lesson, we have lived through the lesson, we have confronted those deep subconscious layers, and then now what? Because when we confront deep layers within ourselves, within our psyche, sometimes, the world tends to put us through that as well. So even if you might not have consciously worked with it, you can look to patterns that has been unfolding for you, and see how the repetitive lessons brought you into a version of yourself that is revealing what was going on spiritually, mentally, that needed a resolution. Because eclipses are portals. Eclipses are portals that spiral us either into our dharma or karma. So I always think of the effects of the eclipse as well as the Wheel of Fortune in the tarot deck, because behind the story of the Wheel of Fortune, it goes with the fact that a wheel can spin, one way or the other way. So the Wheel of Fortune represents a big change of consciousness often, or the road that you're taking in life that has come to a karmic turning point. And in that karmic turning point, you are deciding, are you spinning backwards in a karmic loop, or are you going forwards towards new evolutionary revelations in your soul's path? And that is how I view eclipse portals as well. The thing about eclipses is that they can sometimes become a bit tricky to track, because often we only see the most current patterns of what has been going on, and we forget that eclipses are part of a broader consciousness expansion and change. And whenever we change our consciousness, we change who we are, who we be, how we act in the world. And so there is something particular interesting, two things I will mention. First, I mentioned the cycle where we think back to September of 2024. Well, that is not so difficult for us to do, right? That's not so far of a span of consciousness, but there is something very peculiar as well if we track this eclipse, because they tend to also work back 18 and a half years. It's a long lecture in itself that I will not give here, but I will just, if you are old enough to remember, go back and think about the atmosphere, the vibe you were in around February 2008 back to August 2007. And this is because that was the last time we saw eclipses like this. If I remember correctly from my research, it was the last Virgo eclipse took place 2008 around 2 degrees Virgo, and the one we will have also incoming next year, 2027, finishing the cycle, is also around 2 degree Virgo. So there is a similarity. What makes this one different and a culmination point that seems very disruptive, very disturbing, but also highly charged is the player Uranus, because Uranus will also meet this eclipse portal at 5 degrees in Gemini. And so now we can really see how highly charged the 5 degree axis are when we talk about this eclipse portal. And I find that very interesting because in degree theory, the 5 degree is Leo. Leo is the consciousness of the heart that we have already stepped into in many ways when the nodes were changing. And the South Node now being in Leo is like, we need to extract the positive lessons of what it means to have leadership from the heart, but it can only be built on a foundation, a spiritual foundation of, knowing who we are at the core of ourselves, Pisces, knowing our subconscious waters, Pisces, knowing how to not just consume spiritual knowledge, but to live the spiritual knowledge. Because when people say, I am spiritual, that's actually not correct. We are all humans are spiritual because we are connected to a greater spirit and energy. The question is, how do you go from labeling, consuming this highly capitalized way of thinking of spirituality into actually living it. And the saying is just so right about this Pisces lunar eclipse, about before enlightenment, chop wood, get water. After enlightenment, chop wood, get water. It's the same, but it comes from a different consciousness, and that is the consciousness that changes how we go about in this world. And it's so interesting on this human journey and who we are and our evolution is that some things moves extremely quickly and other things tend to be very Saturnian and needs to people need to catch up with it, like the physical body and the mind is more rigid, needs to catch up with all this energy. But then we have the player in the game right now. So when we look to what Uranus is doing, we also need to understand the broader perspective, like what is going on. What is going on with Uranus? Uranus is in Gemini. Uranus likes to be here and will continue to be there for the next 6.5 years. So it is very often connected to revolution, rebellion, obviously, as we can see, extremely speedy progression of technology is about, electricity, thunder. And I thought this is so interesting because the other day there were like crazy out of nowhere thunder and flooding just happening. It was literally as if the sky opened up 1 minute to the other, and the amount of water that was just flooding from the sky was as if someone took the ocean and just turned it upside down, and alongside the thunder. And I thought, Uranus, here we are. Zeus is lightning the sky. Thor, whoever, the gods are angry and they are trying to get our attention. And so when we think of it that way, think about this eclipse portal as being a moment of, a lot of emotions, a lot of things being stirred up to the surface for the last time, alongside accepting the grief that comes with something that has fulfilled its purpose. And depending on, your natal chart, where you're at in life, you will know what that is. You will feel it. The only thing that keeps you from aligning with astrology is if you're too busy to center yourself and actually feel into the different kind of activations of consciousness that is being brought to us, whether we want it or not. Because only one thing is certain about this life, and that is that everything changes all the time. There is a natural progression to things. And Uranus is just that progression on speed. And depending on, your own placements, Uranus is, and that's what I built my little update on for your rising sign following this. Uranus is the thing, the lightning thunder that comes in and say, hey, I know you are, deep in the waters of Pisces, but look to this thing, because this is where you will be going. This is where you will put your energy, and this is where it's important for you on your soul journey to continue to build this. So, for instance, just a short reference, if you are a Aries Rising, you will have Pisces lunation up in your 12th house. So that will be native in his house, and you will have seen for the past 2 years that, wow, my deep subconscious matter and spirituality and sense of self has really changed. And I have gotten a lot of lessons being brought out in the light, where I can see that what has been operating in my subconscious mind do manifest on a physical level, and therefore by changing that program, I'm changing what I experience. And then you will have Uranus in Gemini, like in your 3rd house. So sort of like the lightning, the thunder goes in and say like, hey, how do you communicate? What do you do in your neighborhood? Like, what is your environment? How do you perceive? How do you communicate yourself? And sometimes it can even be that on the day of the eclipse or around the eclipse, you have something that, I can't really see the next chapter. And then you go out in public and there's someone at the cafe sitting and talking exactly about that subject that you have been ruminating about. So, even though Pisces is retreated, Pisces is, a bit like the spiritual, I will invite all of you to be very curious about this eclipse, to be very curious about what your emotions are revealing of what's really going on, because the soul is always guiding us. You are always being guided by the stars above, and that's why astrology is a 4,000-year-old symbolic language that helps our human experience to align with what's meant for us, the divine timing of everything. It's only that we have free will, so sometimes we get off track and we make a lot of problems for ourselves. And eclipses comes here to stir up that and to start patterns and to end patterns. So expect the unexpected. It's a cliche, but it's so true with this one. And this energy, you will be feeling it strongly from today up until the 29th. We have a lot of other things going on. So again, do listen to my weekly forecast for each of the rising sign, where I also highlight some other astrological things that are going on in this moment. And do tap into your rising sign in this video, where I give a few minutes update on, what needs to let go, Pisces part of your chart, what is being lit up, the Gemini part of your chart. So that is basically the expansion of this eclipse. I'm curious to hear what is going on in your life right now. You can write in the description box, what are you letting go of? What are you inviting in? It's always a good idea to let go of what is restricting you and inviting in more love, because love is the answer to anything, basically. It's just that we are here to learn about it and to embody it and to understand what it means. So that's my little update for now. And as always, remember to like and subscribe to this channel, and I hope to catch you in another video. Bye for now. If you're an Aries rising, you could feel particularly tired, fatigued around this eclipse. And this is because it is going to happen in your 12th house. And your 12th house is a lot about everything that is hidden to us. So it's your karma, it's your mental health, it's institutions, it's all of these things that we can't access that easily, that are hidden away here. It's also the house that governs your dream world and your, in many ways, vitality. So if you are feeling extra tired, Aries rising, it's important that you listen to your body around these days, that you take the proper rest that you need, because your subconscious mind or unconscious mind is trying to restructure itself around this eclipse from everything that you might have learned the past 2.5 years, since around September 2024. And it has not been easy for you, Aries rising. You have really worked quite hard. A lot of you might have gone through a dark night of the soul. Maybe you have isolated a lot. Maybe you have been in a hermit mode a lot. But it's important that you listen to the very Uranian messages that will come in for you around this time. So anywhere between August 26th to August 29th, I would be on the outlook for information. Maybe you're sitting at a cafe, someone has a conversation, and you're like, wow, that's the information that I needed to have. Maybe be open to change your perspective on something. Maybe be open for a revelation around anything that has to do with communication. So like when we use our language, it's also a spell. Like you're casting a spell on yourself, your consciousness, and the possible future that you're moving into. So for you, Aries rising, use your words very wisely around this eclipse, lunar eclipse, because it is as if those words are going to put the spell into the next chapter of your life, where you're coming out of this very long sensory feeling of dark night of the soul, or some sort of heaviness that you couldn't quite understand. For a few of you, that might also have been regards to, depression, mental health, anxiety could have been going high. And you could just in general have felt that your body is more tired and has less energy, which obviously also has a little bit now to do with Saturn transiting your first house, but with Pisces eclipses happening here starting at 2024, I would say once this is over, you will feel a very big change, particularly in your physical body, and be open again to conversations, messages coming in for you. So that's what I have for you, Aries Rising. Hope to see you in another video. Bye for now. Okay, Taurus Rising. So for you, this eclipse is bringing sort of a full circle to something that has to do with your networks or your friendships or your community that you take, maybe you take part of. It could also just be future plans in general that were based on your values, and you find yourself no longer aligning with it, or there are some priorities that are changing that you need to listen to. Perhaps before you were taking part of a specific friend group, or you were living in a particular place, but you come to realize that the values that you have now needs you to move and center yourself somewhere else. And be open to anything that has to do with your second house, where you would have Uranus transiting right now and bringing in extra strong energy. Are there something you're being pushed toward in a different way that could generate another kind of income for you? Or is there something that you find out that has more value to you, even if it's not monetarily, but something that you feel you want to invest in? Because those will be the clues for you to where to move on from after this eclipse. So it can look in many different ways, obviously depending on your life situation, your personal birth chart, but it is important that you stay open to another way of evaluating things, maybe another way of generating income. Maybe you have some epiphanies after this. Maybe some doors needs to be closed on your special kind of communities that you have been participating in maybe for years now, but you can see that they are sort of, making you leak energy out of the back door. That's what I would be particularly curious about around this eclipse for you, Taurus Rising. Okay, Gemini Rising. So this eclipse is really highlighting the end of a chapter in regards to your career, your vocation, your legacy, the way that the public sees you. It's almost as if the way that you've gone about career and your public identity just has to run its course. Like it's almost as if some of you out there are gripping on to career or public role that when you really listen to yourself, you've outgrown this and it's just not working for you. And this is being highlighted with Uranus, the master of sudden shifts, because he is in your first house and he is really sending some electricity through your system in regards to your personality, your sense of self. There's something that makes this eclipse very personal for you, Gemini Risings, and that is really that Uranus is bringing some extraordinary and very different and unique to you ideas that is waiting for you to catch up with it, and they can only arrive into your life once you let go of the image that you have projected onto your 10th house, meaning your career, your vocation, your legacy, how people see you. So question is here for you, Gemini Rising, are you ready to let go of that so that you can actually bring in the person that you are becoming and bringing some of those brilliant ideas that Uranus undoubtedly is connecting you with? And just a little fun fact too for you Gemini Risings is that because you have Uranus transiting your first house, you might suddenly realize on the other side of this eclipse that your energy is changing you in the sense of people might start noticing that you look more radiant. Maybe people would say you look so youthful or younger or shiny. There's something about your appearance once you let go of the heaviness of your 10th house that is going to be physically visible. So that's just a little fun side note for you, Gemini Rising. And you can check out my longer predictions from the earlier this week if you want to hear something more about this eclipse weather. But this was the little check-in for now. Cancer Rising. So you will end a cycle in regards to your belief systems, or if you have been someone who has been traveling a lot in one way or another, you have reached a culmination point around that traveling. So there's again this feeling that maybe even a spiritual framework or philosophy that you've been followed for a while, you look yourself in the mirror and you're like, actually, this is not me anymore. But it's as if you know it, but you just haven't accepted it yet. And really, depending on your personal situation, your birth chart, obviously, it could be a wide range of situations in regards to your belief, your worldview, the philosophies and spiritual framework that you live by. Perhaps there's something in regards to, just this example could be maybe you have been taking classes in yoga, or you are a yoga practitioner and you realize that this is not what you want to continue with, and now you need to be ready to really face this and say like, okay, do I need to change a perspective with what I believe in? Do I need to try another kind of yoga? Or have I simply just outgrown this version of myself? I would say Uranus affecting your 12th house could come in with some very surprising things that has been there in your subconscious mind all the time, but you just couldn't see it. It's like bringing electricity and thunder into a dark room, and suddenly you're able to see it. So be ready for something hidden to be revealed, and be ready to change in regards to what you see, because the worst thing that you can do under this astrological weather as a Cancer rising is to doubt the clarity and the sudden shifts that Uranus is showing you quite profoundly from your 12th house by listening to, the fear, or no, this is not possible, I don't believe it, I just saw it very briefly. Be ready to be open to a complete change of mind for you, Cancer rising. Leo rising. Okay, so, these eclipses has been highly affecting your 8th house, going on since September of 2024. 8th house is obviously not very easy. It's one of the more difficult houses in astrology, because they are connected also to our unconscious, our fears, if we have any tendencies to dependent, whether it's emotionally, financially, or psychologically, on people that are not right for you. There could be something in regards to your attachments and your attachment style. And you can see around this eclipse that you have come to an end with it. Particularly pay attention to how you spend money. If you're dependent on anyone else to, bail you out of any situations, that might be something you want to consider not doing anymore. If you have any, intertwinements with people, business partners, romantic partners, that feels unhealthy or had grown sour over the past years, pay attention to that, Leo rising, because this is your end destination where you need to free yourself. And Uranus will bring in the possibilities that are more in alignment and of higher energy for you. So if you stay open and awake and go out and actually engage with communities, go to new places, just go to a park you usually don't go to, or take a new class, you might very well get a new possibility for anything that could really help your independence, your sense of self, the knowing that you're going in the direction of your heart, which is important for you, Leo Risings, because on top of all that, of course, you also have Jupiter in your sign until next summer. So Jupiter wants you to find luck and opportunities and growth in things that are connected to what your heart wants and not what your mind wants. So that's it for you, Leo Rising. My Virgo Rising, there's been quite a long pattern going on since around September 2024 in regards to your 7th house. Question you could ask yourself is that, are there any close relationships or dynamics or romantic situations that has come to an end, both for you and for the other person? And how can you accept that? If it has to do with a business client, it looks different than if it has to do with a romantic partner. But nonetheless, there might be very well something that has come to an end. Maybe you have changed. Maybe you are realizing that the dynamics in which you were participating before in close relationships are not the dynamics that you want to participate in now. And with Gemini up in your 10th house, being highly, influenced by Uranus transiting here, be open to unexpected news or developments in regards to your public life or your career, your vocation, even if you're retired. Then it has to do with your legacy or how you help people in the public life. Are there anything, you want to reconsider in regards to that? But also in regards to how do people who loves you truly support you in your career and in your growth and your public life? What do you need from people close to you? You might have some sudden epiphanies around that you couldn't see before, because Uranus is sudden shifts, and this eclipse is kind of a bit unnerving, like things can happen very fast and they can feel very grand and unstable around the eclipse. So this energy will be unfolding in so many ways for you around 26th of August until the 1st of September. You would feel this very strongly, but at the same time, trust that every time you give something up, it's also leaving space for something new. So that's the main thing for you, Virgo Rising. Libra Rising. So are there anything in regards to your daily patterns, the workload you take on you, or maybe how you manage your life, on your health, that doesn't work for you? Are there signs from your body? Do you know you have aches and pains, but you don't listen to it? Are you eating something you know that isn't good for you? Are you taking on responsibility or workloads from people where it's actually not really yours? I would pay attention to that, because with this lunar eclipse in your 6th house, it's the last part of the Pisces part of the eclipse portal that has been going on since September of 2024. So what has happened to you throughout those years? What has been going on in your life, Libra Rising? Really think about that. Take a moment to look at a real sober way in which you might not be, thriving anymore. Maybe you have been taking on a lot of subconscious workloads because you carry some sense of not being good enough or needing to work harder for it than any other people. And the reason why that is going to be highlighted is exceptionally is that you have Gemini in your 9th house, meaning that Uranus is transiting here for you, and it will bring in new perspectives and ideas comes to the surface in regards to your belief system, directly the belief system that may make you prone to take on load patterns or eating habits or anything else that isn't healthy for you, and now you can change how you approach that and apply it to your everyday life. So that's super important. Trust if there are some sudden change of path, change of belief, maybe something that you have been just kind of autopiloting on for a long time is now coming to the surface, and you're like, why did I default to that one? Why is my default setting this or that? This is Uranus making you aware of something on a conscious level that you couldn't reach before. So in this portal, take advantage of that energy to really change something that goes deep in your daily life for you, Libra Rising. Scorpio Rising. So are there any creative or romantic or joyful experiences that you know has come to an end? Are you ready to release maybe romantic partners, situationships, creativity that you do because it looks good but it doesn't feel good to you anymore? It sounds a bit, interesting that we talk about something that on the surface seems very good, right? Like romance and creativity and joyful experiences. But everything in a too big of a dosage is not healthy for us. So that's why I'm asking, with the end of this Pisces lunar eclipse, what are you ready to release? Let's say you're someone that is always on dating apps, or you're always having a flirt somewhere and you put all your attention out there. It might feel fun for the moment, it might push some dopamine, but if that's been a repeating pattern in the sense of being acknowledged and seen by other people, well, the lunar eclipse is here to show you that it's time to release those habits. And then with the Uranian activation here, there will be a very strong and clear vision perhaps for you of where you're holding yourself back and why you do like you do, because the 8th house is, it's deep and it has to do with our psychology as well. It's also the house of death and rebirth and transformation. So there could be something that, on an emotional level, you need to resolve, and Uranus brings that to the surface in a quite profound way, also positive. Like Uranus is the one that is showing you when you are in a dark room where the front door is. So trust what you see when you gain these moments of clarity and take some practical action in that direction. That will be the way that you can utilize this eclipse energy the most. Sagittarius Rising. So the quick update for you is in regards to your 4th house, because the lunar eclipse will highly be affecting your sense of home, belonging, family, the way that you emotionally nourish yourself. And there is something in regards to those things that you're just ready to let go of. There could have been a repetitive cycle playing out since September 2024 that now you see is not the direction you want to go. And obviously that can look very different depending on your personal chart. But as a Sagittarius rising, it could very well be you wanting to move. Maybe you need to change some emotional foundations for yourself, meaning you need to have conversations with loved ones or truthful conversations with yourself in what you need in order to, feel nourished and feel good. And then this surprise that will come in for you that Uranus brings in, there could be a development in a relationship that shows you that you cannot continue to relate in the old way. So it can be anything really. It can be a close friend that is triggering you. It could be a romantic partner. It could be a client or a business relationship where you're like, hey, if I approach it this way, I will drain myself and this will not be good for me. So basically this lunar eclipse portal is bringing to surface relationships, particularly romantic, but it can also be platonic in the sense of, business relationships, where you realize, okay, I can't relate this way anymore because it's really not the best version of me, and at the same time it's also not bringing me into the future that I visualize so strongly for myself. So this eclipse is all about finishing up, a time where perhaps you need to live somewhere else, you need to have a different relationship to, your family, your home, and where you have changed so much that you might realize very quickly that if you relate the same way as you related before, you get the same outcome as well. So be really careful with that. And the biggest gift that you can bring to yourself, Sagittarius Rising, right now, is to not repeat what isn't working for you. And it sounds so simple, right? But the thing is that we are creatures of habit. So before you acknowledge it consciously and really hold yourself accountable, it is more easy to go to the default setting. But that's what you're not going to do for this lunar eclipse, Sagittarius Rising. Capricorn Rising. So this lunar eclipse will take part in your third house, and since 2024 September, there could have been a way that you communicate or think and process information in various kinds that now feel very restricting, very limiting, very like, I just don't think that it works for me anymore. And Uranus is going to disrupt very much things in your daily life, your daily routines, maybe your health habits, that will be trying to somewhat force you to find a better system for you, a better system for how you eat, when you eat, what you eat, a better system for the responsibilities you take on you or the responsibilities that you avoid. And it could simply manifest through you having, something that feels disrupting in your daily routine. It could be anything really. It could be anything small from you notice that you wake up at a different time in the night and that your body is communicating something is in imbalance. Or it could be that you just you missed the bus one day and you're late for work, and that gets you really triggered and angry. And now you realize that you actually don't want to go to that work, and you kind of like a little bit hate the way that you have played out your life recently. And that is for you to get to a point of saying, I am going to vote for myself. I'm going to communicate differently. I'm going to train myself to think differently about what is my possibilities, and I'm going to take charge of that. So that is in very few words what can unfold for you under this lunar eclipse, Capricorn Risings. Aquarius Rising. So there has been a pattern perhaps in your sense of self around how you manage money, how you earn money, what you think security is. That needs to be reformed right now. You need to release this pattern because there is something, perhaps since September 2024, that is limited your belief in regards to what you're worth, the money that you earn, how you earn money. Or it could be simply the way that you feel safe and secure in life. And then on the other hand, you have the influence on the fifth house from Uranus saying, hey, what can you incorporate in your life that actually brings you some joyfulness? And are there any creative things that you can do that expands your mind? Like how there are so many there's so many studies now that shows that if you do something creative, even half an hour a day, you're literally changing the way that your brain is working. So perhaps that's the way around starting a new way of relating to yourself and your sense of self. It could even be that you get into, it could be art therapy, or just you start to paint or sing just because you love it, or you go to a dance class. But Uranus will be showing you where you could do that. You know, if you suddenly have an idea that, oh, I should go to salsa class, or I should go to art therapy, trust it around this portal, because it is Uranus trying to show you some sudden insights around what you might have been neglecting in yourself. And when we neglect something in ourselves over a longer period of time, well, for you, Aquarius Rising, that can manifest in, you know, even money blockages, or a sense that you just never have enough, even if you do have enough. And that can be very limiting to you, because you are a free spirit, you are a free thinker. And even you being so free and being so open-minded can still imprison yourself in a place and situation you don't want to be in. That's just part of the human journey. So you're smart enough, Aquarius Rising, to listen to Uranus and these, and when I say listen to Uranus, I generally mean listen to original ideas, listen to those small hints that comes in and say, hey, you should try this instead. So that's the brief little update for you, Aquarius Rising. And finally for you, Pisces Rising, well, you are the main character of this eclipse. So what version of yourself are you just so ready with? I feel like you're so done with something. Is it, are you suddenly feeling you need to have a haircut or change your hair color? That comes to me very strongly. Or, are you just so finished with criticizing yourself, thinking you're not good enough, looking yourself in the mirror and hearing only negativity? Are you so ready to just embrace the person that you know you are, and just shine through and take up some space? There's something in your personality now that, is way overdue. And it can also be emotionally that you have been, addressing yourself in a certain way, connected to a belief that you might not have felt good enough or emotionally unstable. And now you suddenly realize that you have manifested a whole lifestyle about that narrative about yourself that isn't even true. And that can come up in regards to you looking at your home life, looking at your foundation, and you're like, wow, actually, I don't want to live here. Or Uranus could bring in some unexpected change around how you relate to family, or maybe there are family dynamics you don't want to play a character in anymore. Maybe you want to be the one that, breaks out of old habits and become a main character that can show a positive way for others to relate as well. There could be something that you change and around how you nourish yourself, how you nurture yourself. Even something as small as, the thing is that Uranus sometimes, what Uranus does in the 4th house is that, yes, it is unexpected change, but it's not just that seems not logical at all, but then at the same time, it makes a lot of sense. So it could be that you feel strongly, wow, I have to move, or I have to go somewhere else, I have to see my grandmother, whatever comes up. Trust it and listen and go for it. And don't be afraid of saying, hey, I'm so done with that version of myself, so I'm just going to leave them. And on the other side of this eclipse, I'm just not relating to all the stories that I connected to who I used to be anymore. So there's a sense of liberation for you, Pisces Rising. And as I said in the intro, listen to my longer weekly forecast, because that will also bring you in some more insights about how these current energies are influencing you.